Thanks. Well, I want to ask you because
Well, that went down well.
no. We're also looking forward to it. I would ask because it's 20 years of Gorillaz, and it's been a hell of a ride. A lot of things happen in these 20 years with new technologies, new generations, but as well new problems, or well, the problems that we were facing 20 years ago as a society have worsened with maybe with Trump. Back in the time was George Bush, now it's Trump with Brexit, xenophobia.
But also, I think the biggest kind of existential crisis is our relationship with the internet and because all of this COVID, everything it's the internet that has created the sense of a sense of it being a pandemic. You know what I mean? It's kind of I mean, when I go outside, it's just planet Earth, and yet when I look at look at news or whatever, it's something completely different. We're losing the ability to understand, but there is a difference between what's on the screen and what's out there, actually.
Yeah, the perception thing.
Perception,
So I want to ask about that because how could you describe the evolution from Gorillaz in these 20 years?
Well, it kind of it was born as the internet began to take form, so it's kind of grown with the internet, basically. I mean, it's been alive as long as the internet, kind of. I suppose so. We've explored everything really that you can do with a band on the internet. From the early days, having the website and the virtual studio where everyone lived and all of that stuff, and now we've got this thing called Song Machine, which is 3/4 of the way through season 1 at the moment. I mean, it was always going to be something that we didn't know what was going to happen next, and that was quite good, really. It was good that we didn't have a plan, because that was the best plan to have, no plan. I suppose halfway through, the first 5 episodes were done. Was it first episode? 1, 2, 5 episodes up to Pac-Man. I actually got to work with the artist physically.
Broke now, the jokes, they try to find the answer to nope.
And then after that, Robert Smith, Elton, Beck, Lee John, St. Vincent, etc., Kano, they were all done via this thing. And I suppose it inevitably is reflected in those songs. They've got a kind of sort of a dreaminess about them that I suppose I felt because I was in the countryside, blissfully away from all city life, next to the sea, and which is quite a strange environment to be making Gorillaz music, because Gorillaz is kind of so urban, innately urban, really. So I was making it in a completely non-urban environment, which is interesting. But I think I can make Gorillaz anywhere, really. I think that's the beauty of it. It's the sum of its parts, And Jenny was stuck in France for the whole of the time, so I never saw him during it. I've actually been in Paris working on an opera. I've just come back from Paris, which was kind of a miracle as well to play to an audience in an opera house that was full. And to hear the sound of a crowd again was like a miracle, I really miss the sound of crowds, the sound of the crowds in South America. The last gig I played with Gorillaz was in Mexico, and it was wonderful. There's really no other way of getting it other than it itself, you know. I think if we get the opportunity at some point to go back to it, I think, wow, that first concert that everyone goes to, whatever it is going to be quite something. Oh, well, I think, you know, I'm really excited. I mean, listen, I really, fingers crossed, hope that we're allowed to do it, you know. I mean, I think we'll be able to do it because it's, you know, it's in a very safe environment, you know. But it's got to be something that justifies the streaming fee. And so I think what people can expect is the actual Gorillaz, the cartoons, on stage playing with us at some points, you know, and us turning into them. I might turn into 2D and then turn back into me. I don't know, you know, and hopefully we'll be able to get most of the performers who are from England and Europe playing. We won't be able to get the American performers on, sadly, but they will be there in a virtual sense. And the technology actually exists now where you can have someone in another country broadcast, and there's no delay, there's no latency, so anything's possible. And I mean, yeah, I'm excited, genuinely excited about that. Oh, well, in the sense that they're animated, yeah. You know, as long as animators can still animate, then yeah, they can keep going. And but I think the energy I think we've got a good energy at the moment. I think we're quite lean at the moment, creatively. We're on a roll, as I say. Well, I mean, in my country, they're really trying to undermine creativity. You know, they're trying to encourage the young people not to be musicians, not to be dancers, not to be artists, which is an awful, nasty, cruel thing to do to people's dreams, especially at this moment in time. So my role as someone who has been able to follow their dreams is just to tell everyone that, like, just resist. resist. Yeah, that's it. Be the change. Resist.
The Song Machine project, it's been a one of a kind, and there's a lot of talk about these big collaborations with Elton John, with Beck, Robert Smith, St. Vincent. I want to ask about how did you pick those collaborations, or how these songs were evolved, as it looks like some of them, or what we hear of them, looks like it were made on behalf of the song rather than because who were there.
Do you mean that the choice was led by the song?
Yeah. Most of the songs.
Yeah, I mean, Elton John came from a conversation with Jamie, and this is a story which I tell at the moment, and it's a true story. When I was 7 years old, I was picked up from my primary school in Elton John's pink Bentley. So that would have been like 1975. Now, you ask yourself, why was I picked up from my school in Elton John's pink Bentley when I was 7? Because Elton had just come back from doing a tour of the USSR and had been paid by the Russians in coal, and he couldn't translate it, he couldn't sell it, so he had just loads of coal but no money, and the only way he could pay his musicians was by giving them gifts. And the gift that he gave his percussionist, whose name is Ray Cooper, who was a friend of my parents, was he gave him his pink Bentley. I don't know whether Ray was particularly happy that he got a pink Bentley, because let's face it, if you drive down the road in a pink Bentley, it's very noticeable, right? Especially was back in 1975. So obviously I remembered this fantastic trip I took in this pink Bentley that was originally owned by Elton John. So I told Jamie this story, and he said, "You've got to do a song with Elton John and sing about that memory you have, that childhood memory." So that's what we did. But Elton claims it wasn't pink; it was fuchsia. So, I mean, I remember pink myself, and yeah, I mean, they've all the songs have gone round the houses. You know, the Beck song went that way, and then finally we found a happy balance. Yeah, they've all got stories, I suppose, and I mean that's the lovely thing about it, really, isn't it? Making music, it's all the stuff that you don't see all of this. Rarely do you know exactly how someone created something, and that's the magic of it, really. But I mean, I just enjoy anything. Anything's possible for me when I work. You know, anything. There's only one person who will remain nameless, who didn't reply to my letters, but everyone else has always been very sweet, you know. And so, I mean, Dionne Warwick, I've literally been at the piano ready to record, and then something's happened, and then it hasn't happened. Barry Gibb was on his way into the studio and suddenly developed an ear infection and couldn't do it. Morrissey, we had a long conversation by email, which was very amusing, but led to nothing. I don't think Morrissey is a collaborator, really. You know, you have to want to collaborate with people, and there's other people that I've done stuff and it just hasn't worked. But I don't like, I try and make everything work, literally everything work somehow, because I don't like the idea of someone coming in and then it being discarded, and I know what that feeling's like, because I've done stuff for people and they haven't even bothered to tell me that they haven't put it on their album, which I find very rude, to be honest with you. But never mind, they will remain nameless. I suppose I just wanted to think about it in a different way, and I like episodes. I look forward to episodes of anything that I'm into, and it means I can just keep going. I mean, we can have a lot of song machines, I mean, I've got the first song for season 2, and it's a cracker. I can't wait to record it, but I have to slow down sometimes, because Jamie gets a bit freaked out if I'm just constantly going, right, animate it. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I honestly didn't think about us making an album. It's just at the end, my friend Stuart Lowbridge gave him all the tunes that we had to consider, and I said, could you kind of arrange them into an album? And he did this amazing arrangement, which started with Strange Times, and there we had it. It was like, wow, that sounds like an album now. Great. It's really nice making an album when you haven't tried to make an album. But believe me, I've tried to make a lot of albums, and they're not always as rewarding as that was when I heard it back, That's what I'm saying. It's definitely, season 2 will be with you sooner than you think. And then obviously we've got a movie with Netflix, which we've decided to do. So I would imagine there'll be another season, and then it might be time for that finally, for the Gorillaz movie. Fingers crossed.
I want to ask about the Nero Fountain. Based on the it's based on the poem of John Clare that they say that art is in the eyes of the beholder. So in my case, due to events I recently lived, what I felt in this song is that it's a farewell and grief. And it also reminds me of the William Blake's poem, Auguries of Innocence. So I want to ask you if you were thinking of the process of grieving and flowing and changing.
Absolutely. That whole project was written looking out of my window in my house in outside Reykjavik at the mountain Esja. And in the distance there's the volcano of Snæfell. And just looking at the sea and the seals and the seabirds and the movement of the tide, loss. It's about loss. That was my. I'm very uncomplicated, but but I suppose like all areas, I also like attention. Well, it's a pleasure speaking to you all, and honestly, the sooner I get back to your beautiful countries, the better. Really, I miss you. I miss you. I miss your spirit. Your southern spirit is much needed in the kingdom of doom where I live. Well, I'll be back. I promise you, I'm coming back. Lots of love.